1980, the guinea hog population was 30 pigs.
To me, it's really about not only preserving deliciousness, but preserving the stories and the lessons learned from those stories.
And while Sean reaches back in time to recapture flavor from heritage breeds, he also looks forward.
We had a couple different experiments where we're breeding several breeds of pigs, creating like a super pig. And so our favorite combination we call the Burkawada Duroc-a-ball.
What?
Burkawada Duroc-a-ball. And it's the genetics of Berkshire, Red Wattled Duroc, and Ossiball.
I got plenty of that.
Off the farm and into the kitchen, Sean's experimenting continues.
We can look at an animal such as a pig and we can say, okay, let's extract the loin and let's do some trials.
So he'll cut the pork into 10 pieces, vacuum seal them, and put them into a computer-controlled water bath where each piece can be heated exactly 1 degree higher than the last.
Then we choose the exact temperature that we feel the pork is perfect. And we can hit that every single time.
Wow.
And perfect means a lot to Sean.
If we can use technology to control the way we cook a piece of pork, to me that's giving that pig the ultimate respect that it deserves.
Sean's kitchens are supplied by people who share his philosophy. Whether it's corn, pigs, or clams, his tasty meals all depend on people who respect where the food comes from.
A lot of my customers want a specific product. They want a specific size at a specific time and so forth. And Sean is a person that says, well, I'll take what you've got when you have it.
Meaning Sean is a big fan of what Clamor Dave likes to call the
Love the one you're with theory, and that what's available is what you get.
And Sean's love the one you're with approach is causing a ripple effect. Other chefs are pushing their own limits, preparing the food that's available.
It's expanding the knowledge of what's here.
Hello guys. Smells so good. I was wondering, like, we could take water from here and make salt.
That's a great idea.
It tastes like clams. Clam salt.
Whenever Sean gets an idea for a plate, he and his team experiment with it back in the test kitchen.
This dish is kind of reflective of a lot of things that I had in my childhood: sorghum, blackberries, pokeweed, hickory smoked pork, cornmeal. So you're taking familiar flavors and presenting them in unfamiliar ways, which to me creates an exciting dish. Certainly interesting that all the flavors are covered by the blackberry, but it's also distracting.
Yeah.
If you don't experiment, you don't understand what your boundaries are and what you're capable of. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 varieties of carrots. Another chili beet, a red onion. What else do we have? I think that's it. Yep.
So, what do you think of Sean? Would you eat at his restaurant if it was in town here?
Absolutely.
Why?
Monsanto doesn't like you. I know, right?
Hmm? Let's see. You said that you have to push the limit. Do you think that's true?
And you don't have to do it, nobody has to do anything,
He was dogmatic about it. I mean, that's his lifestyle, absolutely.
but that's his, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, he believes that. Nobody believes
Well, most people would prefer not to think about where their food comes from,
Yeah.
where that's what he's all about. And I think that there's certain people that really do care and want to know where their food comes from, and they're pushing that envelope.
McDonald's has a chef like him? Probably not, huh?
Aren't they changing as part of the people becoming more aware of where they're?
Actually, I just read not too long ago that they were going to go to, they call it free roaming beef.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be, I think 2015 is when it'll start. And everybody's questioning exactly what that will mean in the terms of McDonald's. But it shows that if there weren't people like Sean pushing that envelope, would that change have occurred?
Well, I mean, you can definitely see it as a change in the culture, I mean, for sure. I mean, that's pushing it.
And maybe that's driven by all the cancers and all the, problems that we have, diabetes, and, people are becoming a lot more aware of what are we putting in our bodies. I love the fact that he had the old seeds. That really said something, because I remember Ayla, but she used to carry seeds in her pouch. And when she would go to different places, she would put those seeds in the earth again. And, we talk about domestication of plants and animals some 5,000 to 12,000 years ago. So it's just interesting.
And she was definitely ahead of her time. He talks about knowledge. He said one of the things that he called knowledge was that if you put corn and you mill it very cold, that it's better. Does that qualify as knowledge?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, why else would they fight over who's gonna get their grain ground first while the mill is cold? It's gotta be knowledge,
Okay. I guess.
They know there's a value in it, and they treasure the value.
Okay, I guess is knowledge then is it just knowing that something works, that's knowledge? Or is it knowing why something works? Is that knowledge?
I think it's a degree of knowledge. I mean, there's a thing about, a pencil works, but you have to know how it works, you have to know how it's made to know that it works.
There's different degrees of knowledge and different types of knowledge.
Right. Your glasses work. Do you have to know how they're made to know?
Your computer works, but do you know how?
I know when it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that I can talk to somebody with there's waves going out from my phone that I don't know what they look like, but they're there.
It is the application of knowledge. So one person in his story said that the grits that taste better are the ones that were cold milled.
Right.
And he had researched or had heard stories about them fighting over who was first in line because the mill would be cold. And then he applied that, when he learned to that he would use the nitrogen,
that was interesting.
oxygen, so that when he grew on his corn, it was as cold as it could be. And then he also talked about his pork being cooked to varying degrees
That's
of
very scientific.
each degree until he got the taste that he wanted, and then he said, okay, well, this degree of doneness, this temperature, that's perfect, and everything
Well,
from that point.
it's perfect to who?
By his tastes.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was applying, what don't you call that, knowledge, or, I mean,
Yeah,
he was
I'm always,
applying knowledge.
yeah, go ahead.
You talk about pushing the limits. That was the first question I think you asked after this video stopped. And could they push the limits? And my mind leaped to genetic modifications into, what we learned about the DNA and all this and how we start modifying that. And now we're talking about cloning people and all that sort of thing, pushing the limits. Is this a good thing? Back into the religion, into the power and all this whole thing. It's just a big stirred up mess in my head.
Well, I think there's been a moratorium, like a pretty much understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, like that's a no-no, like,
For
Right.
cloning people.
for cloning people, like that's not a direction that I don't think we want. Cloning stem cells and, you know, protein bases with cells over top to create new organs and things like that, that's another story, but like making a new human, I'm pretty sure.
For now.
For now,
For
for now,
Cloning
for now.
disease-resistant wheats and
Well, we've been-
rices
we've been
that
doing
feed
that
the
for-
masses. Sure we have.
We've been doing that for how many?
And we're pushing the
But
limit.
before it was through natural selection, more or less, now we are actually inserting genes of different
Correct.
species into
Correct.
different plants, and we are getting some outcomes, I think, that are kind of questionable, but
Mhm.
difficult to prove.
But then you have where society puts a little change in that, where you go to the grocery store and you can find whole sections in the grocery store that say no GMO.
Although
So
a lot of
you have
foods,
a lot of,
a lot of foods aren't labeled at all for GMO, though.
right.
They should
But-
be, but
But
they're
you
not.
do have that where, as people become aware of that and maybe don't like,
I still
the
haven't found it in the
changes
fruit
or-
and vegetables, though.
so that that's now coming through to society where you're being told that it's, there aren't GMOs in this particular product. So society comes back and polices science and knowledge, or
But
has
see,
its
that's
own
again, the
knowledge.
science is so far advanced to where the law is, we just can't keep up with all the changes and all the, as a society, technology is going much faster than.
Yeah, I wonder why we can't. I wonder what's wrong with our systems that we can't, have people that understand the implications or the ramifications of some of the things that are created or some of the things that are
Well, I think
possible.
that goes back to your globalization comment, we're competing now with other countries and other industries and that industrial push all the time to get the better, faster out there, really goes back to that globalization too.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure it's ever better. It is definitely faster and cheaper, the driving force. I have a question about the tattoos. When I grew up as a kid, tattoos were on guys who came back from World War II, and those were good. Anchor, or
Mom.
somebody, mom, yes, mom was a good one. Hopefully it wasn't drunk and it was spelled wrong,
Wow.
And now, this guy has a tattoo, and in the book, Ayla has tattoos as well as a lot of native cultures had tattoos. So, what's your take on tattoos? What's your take on his tattoo?
I have a definite stand on this because I have to counsel students who are at that age where they just really want a tattoo. And I always encourage them to think about what they liked 10, 15 years ago. Was it Teletubbies? Was it, I don't know what, some stupid cartoon? Would you want, at that age, and I know they couldn't get a tattoo whenever they were little children, but would you want a tattoo of something that you liked 15 years ago on you right now?
Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch, would you want that on you right now? Okay? And some of them say, what? But it makes them think about, it's a permanent type of thing. If it means something to you, that's great. I personally don't have them, couldn't even think about the needle, but whatever. But I have, my husband has them, like all my friends, it's like, it's culturally accepted right now. But it's just such a permanent thing. But people say, if it's meaningful, and I have a lot of friends who are, it's very meaningful and it commemorates a specific event in your life that means so much and it's always with you and da-da-da-da-da. So I always tell my students and counsel them to be very, very, very sure and make sure you're very careful about where it is because
Don't you
they're
think
so
it's an
permanent.
age thing, though? Really.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
People my age don't have them,
No.
but my daughter's age and all her,
Mhm. It's a
30-year-olds old people all have tattoos. I don't know too many.
But I
people
have,
my age
a
that
friend
don't,
who is 50-some years old and has a sleeve just as big as his. So, he's a motorcycle dude and, whatever, but it's...
Yeah, bikers and military.
I know.
Well, I just saw a big billboard advertising being able to get rid of your tattoo.
Yeah, I heard that is laser, I heard that is super painful.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
So
they
it-
could put you under.
I know
It'll
someone who got
increase more
hepatitis
revenue
C
for
from
somebody.
getting tattoos on his arm.
Well, because there's.
So there is a danger there also.
Yeah.
Not only can you not get rid of them,
back
but you might get a virus.
To this particular person wanting to be different, wanting to be unique. He is pushing the limits, and it is his outlook on life, and it goes along with the tattoos.
It's his passion, you know.
It's his passion.
Always have tattoos.
That's who he is.
True.
Yes.
I mean,
But it is more popular right now, as she said, than it has been in other.
I know.
and it's more culturally acceptable.
Yes.
That's a big, even though I definitely counsel my students to be very careful about that because you are really limiting your occupational choices if you have a tattoo on the side of your
Oh,
neck.
that's true.
On the side of your, even down on your hands or.
Well, I think, you know, our entertainment world and our, you know, professional athlete world is
All right,
just
now.
riddled with, I mean, you know, the Super Bowl game, almost every athlete has lots of tattoos. I have no idea what they mean, but, you know, in a situation like this, he obviously is, you know, has a tattoo that reflects his lifestyle and it is very meaningful. So, you know, in some respects, you have to, if you understand the individual, then it's easier to be accepting. But,
You have, that's why I always tell them, make sure you're very committed to what you're doing, because.
yeah, but there's a lot of pressure, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, oh gosh, yes, because if you have one, then you're seen as more mature because you could stand the pain or something. I don't get it. But oh boy, the boys, whenever they get them, they show you, and look.
Well, my oldest son talked about a tattoo several times when he was in college, and he ended up not ever getting one. But some of his friends got them, and for some it was a couple, you know, they started with the normal, you know, on an arm or a calf or something, but then they'll work up to, not only do they get more tattoos, but now they have to get it in a more difficult, more painful location. Apparently, right at this.
On the ribs, yeah, there's no meat there.
Very
Oh,
painful
just relax
to
and
do
that's it.
that. That's a painful place, and so that was sort of almost a badge of honor for the ones who did that. You know, so it's a different thing. But when I look at his tattoo, I mean, I can look at it and recognize it as a beautiful piece of artistry. It was beautiful. I don't know, a little like 50 years from now. It's beautiful now.
But there's some that are so bad. Have you ever seen WTF Tattoo website?
Yeah.
.com?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
But
So funny.
there are some that are absolutely beautiful, and there are some that, when people, you know, they, at the desk at the library, I've had some people tell me the stories of their tattoos, and it's just, to them, it really means something. It isn't just something that they've copied because their idol has the same tattoo. There's one person who actually had her baby's handprint put on her heart. So they, you know, they inked her hand and she had the baby put her hand on that, and then they tattooed that. And it's beautiful then when you know what it is, but when you first look at it, like, she has a handprint on her chest. But then when she explains it and what it means, because she also has her stepdaughter's hand right next to it, so it's sort of like involving her family. So it's a very beautiful story when you hear about it. So his tattoo and tattoos like that one, it has the meaning to it. It's part of representing their life. And it's that person's choice, I guess.
I think, you know, it's good to remember culturally that tattoos are something that have been around, you know, for thousands of years. And when the Europeans came and the French Jesuits came, they recorded a lot of the tattoos that the Native Americans exhibited. And we often talk about the individual being a cultural artifact, that you yourself represent your culture through what you wear and what you've done to your body and that sort of thing. So a lot of cultures, it's a way of keeping track of things. It's a way of storytelling, probably. It's a way of showing your rank in society through what you've achieved, you know, on your body. So certainly there's something that is important about tattoos, and even, you know, I'm sure within the athletic world, they have their own understanding of what those tattoos mean, you know, I mean, they sort of probably look at each other and think, oh, he's got, you know, something about his tattoos reflects, you know, his position in this business, much as prison art does, you know, and that sort of thing as well. So they're all part of it. Yes?
One thing about Sean's story that made me think about this knowledge that we're acquiring. Have you ever anyone read The Omnivore's Dilemma?
Mm-hmm. Michael Pollan.
Well, after I got through reading that, I thought, oh my gosh, I think people aren't thinking far enough ahead with some of their ideas of what can occur if they get too ahead of themselves. And even I was thinking from this book, at the end, when they discovered the gift of life that was given, she even at the end thought, oh, this knowledge is very enlightening to all of us, but there's a lot of ramifications that are going to arise that we never thought of. And I'm just wondering if some of our knowledge nowadays, if people shouldn't be, I don't know what you would call them, bioethicists, that are studying some of this stuff and saying, you know, wait a minute, we have to think a lot more before we go ahead with some of these ideas. Like the genetic corn that they're developing, and how it has completely changed our whole way of agriculture, and we're seeing the effects of it on Lake Erie now because they don't have to dig down to get the fertilizer to the roots. The new corn plants are able to get the fertilizer right from the top of the soil, so a lot of that's running off into the lake. And then they have so much corn now, they don't know what to do with it, and because you have to make money, they're trying more and more ways to use corn, and now we're totally infested with corn products. So I'm thinking a lot of this knowledge we're getting, it seems like it's coming so quickly. Is it really
Yeah.
need to be slowed down a little bit and thought of a little more carefully?
Yeah, that's really a great comment, and we should probably wrap this up. So I'll stop with that, but I wanted to add something, and you just led exactly into what I wanted to talk about is exactly what you mentioned in terms of her discovery at the end, and that knowledge, and thinking about the ramifications. And in our society, I don't think we really apply that thought very well. We don't, when something is discovered, and that's why I asked about knowledge before, is because if something works, is that really knowledge, or is it just working? You know, and, oh, if it works, well, let's make it work everywhere. And let's not think about the ramifications or how it affects culture in various different ways. And so we can, and a prime example of that is kind of what we're going to talk about next week with connections is, think about Facebook and think about how well it works. But who thinks about the ramifications of that and how that's changed our society in such a short period of time? I mean, completely altered how we deal with people, how we connect with people. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's that knowledge, or is it that fact, or it's just, you know, what are the ramifications? And we need a whole world of anthropologists to think about these things. So that we can, and bioethicists. So thanks very much. This was great. I
So
enjoyed
next
myself.
month you're coming back, and Lauren's got the books out there for you.
Books out there.
Now you read them this time.
Well, now that we have a month to prepare, we will.
Yes, and bring your friends, because we have room for more.
What's
Yeah,
next?
absolutely.
It ain't Tuesday, it was wonderful. No, it's in a month.
It's in a month.
Yeah.
Thunderstruck is the next one. It's 1 month. Yeah, Eric Larson.
Oh,
And the videos are really, really interesting. We have
And
a
the
sculptor.
date is,
really
I can get my
good.
glasses on, March 3rd
Right.
at 6 p.m. They're always on Mondays, the first
First Monday
Monday
of
in
the
March,
month.
okay? So,
I just
we'll
found out
see you
about
then.
this afternoon.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Great.
thanks. Very interesting.
Do you want us to put the chairs back?
I wish I could have given more part of it.